Two men spent 7 miles walking next to the risen Jesus, grieving him, mourning him, talking about his death, to his face. And they had no idea it was him. Here's the promise of this video. Jesus was already present in their pain before they said a single word about it. Not after they figured it out. Not once they prayed hard enough. Before. He was already walking beside them. We're going to find out why they couldn't see him, and what that means for the moment you're in right now. This is Luke chapter 24, verses 13 to 32. Scripture says something strange here. Not that Jesus was hiding, not that he looked different. It says, their eyes were restrained. Something kept them from seeing what was right in front of them. So here's the real question this video answers. What restrains a person's eyes from recognizing God right beside them? And is the same thing happening to you? Watch what they're doing when Jesus draws near. They're deep in conversation, replaying the crucifixion, turning it over and over. Not praying, not watching for him, grieving in a loop. Here's the discovery. Restrained eyes aren't a punishment. They're what grief does naturally. When you're inside a loss, your attention narrows to the loss itself. That's not spiritual failure. That's just what pain does to perception. So if grief itself can blind you to his presence, how does Jesus respond to that? Does he wait for them to snap out of it first? No, he doesn't wait. He walks up and asks what they're talking about, already knowing the answer. And Cleopas says something remarkable back to him. Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who doesn't know the things which happened? They're explaining his own death to his face, and he lets them. Why would Jesus let two grieving men explain his own crucifixion to him instead of just announcing who he was? Because grief has to finish speaking before it can hear anything back. Cleopas keeps going and says the line that carries the entire story. We were hoping that it was he who was going to redeem Israel. Past tense. Not we still believe. Hope, already buried. If their hope had already died, what does Jesus say to that? Does he correct them? Comfort them? Something else entirely? Neither. He does something unexpected. O foolish ones, and slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Then walks them through Moses and all the prophets, showing what was written about him all along. He doesn't perform a miracle to prove himself. He opens a Bible they'd read their whole lives. Why would the risen Christ's first move, with proof of resurrection literally standing in front of them, be a scripture lesson instead of a miracle? Because recognition isn't the same as evidence. They needed to see him, not just be told facts about him. A miracle would have given them information. What they actually needed was to have their eyes opened. Those aren't the same thing, and Jesus knew it. If you're waiting for God to prove himself to you with something dramatic, this story suggests he may be doing something slower and deeper instead, walking you back through what you already have until you can finally see it. So what finally does open their eyes? What's the moment it actually happens? They reach Emmaus. Jesus acts as though he'll keep walking. He doesn't force his way in. They have to invite him. Abide with us. Why does he wait to be asked? He's God. Why not just stay? Because presence that isn't wanted isn't the same as presence that's welcomed. He'll walk beside you unrecognized for miles. But staying, abiding, that's something he waits to be invited into. There may be an area of your life where he's near, but not yet invited to stay. That invitation might be the very next step for you. They sit to eat. He takes bread, blesses it, breaks it, hands it to them. And their eyes were opened, and they knew him. Same words as before. Reversed. Restrained. Now opened. Same face they'd looked at for 7 miles. What changed wasn't Jesus. What changed was their ability to finally see who'd been there the whole time. And the instant they recognize him, he's gone. Because the point was never for them to hold on to him physically. The point was for them to know he was already with you before you could see it. So what does this mean for the silence you might be in right now? It may not be absence. It may be exactly this. Him present, while grief keeps your eyes restrained. It's all right to say the whole truth, even the "we were hoping" part, even past tense. He let them finish before he answered. And if you're waiting for a dramatic sign, this story suggests the answer might come slower, being walked back through what you already know, until you can finally see it. They ran 7 miles back to Jerusalem that same night. The same road that had felt like collapse hours earlier, now retraced in urgency, because they finally saw what had been true the whole time. They were never walking alone. That's still true. Not because you've earned clarity, but because Christ draws near to the ones who think they've lost everything, and stays once you ask him to. Has there been a season you can only now look back on and realize God was closer than you thought at the time? Tell me in the comments.